You are tuned to Sky Power FM on 93.5, transmitting live from 1920 West Fiji. The program is Big Issues, and my name is Phillip Nyakpo. My guest on Big Issues today is probably the sharp end of the arrow that brought the New Patriotic Party into power. He is a consummate politician and was the campaign manager for the ruling NPP in the 2000 presidential election. He's a celebrated orator, and whenever he introduced the then presidential candidate, he was always met with deafening applause. The presidential and parliamentary victory brought under his direction is now history. But he's here in the studio with me today as the former Chief of Staff at the Presidency and now Presidential Affairs and Information Minister. My guest is indeed this key government minister, Honorable Obetsebi-Lamptey. And you are welcome.
Thank you very much, Philip. Thank you for a wonderful introduction.
And sir, taking one step back into history, right? What made you such an effective campaign manager to bring the NPP into power?
I think possibly all my working life had been preparing me for that particular job at that particular time. Okay, in retrospect, as an advertising agent and marketing consultant, you're bringing a product to market, you're marketing a product. So I mean, the skills we were taught, the methods we were taught, all came into use in marketing Mr. J. Kufuor and the NPP. Mm-hmm.
So those skills, are they the skills that make good politicians that you are?
Well, I don't know if I'm a good politician yet. I'm still a very new politician, still to be fully tested. But I believe that marketing skills are skills that stand you in good stead for whatever you do in life, whatever you get into, because at the end of the day, marketing teaches you to focus, marketing teaches you to deliver on needs, to identify a need and deliver on that need. I can never recommend highly enough that whatever you want to get into, whether you want to be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever, that you study some marketing, because marketing is the essential quality that you do need to have. So
you tell me, how are you doing now as Minister of Presidential Affairs?
Again, this is a job that you always judge by how by others. It's not a job that you can ever turn around and say, I'm doing well. There's always something about to happen. There's always some new policy of government that has to be brought out to people and shared with people. There's always going to be some criticism by somebody somewhere that has to be addressed by the ministry. And so you are always being judged by how you handle whatever the current problem is. So it's a challenge, and it's for me, it's a challenge that I enjoy.
I don't know if this question will cause you to repeat yourself, but exactly what does it mean? What does it involve? To be a presidential affairs minister, what does it mean?
It's basically coordinating to deliver on the president's promise, to make sure that the government, within the government, we are focused and that we are all working to the same beat, the beat that is given us by the president. You need to translate. You need to broadcast to the people what ministers are doing. So you need to know what it is that the ministers are doing, and you ask the questions. You ask the minister, is this online with what is to be delivered, and then make sure that the answers are there so you can answer when the people ask you.
And that keeps you busy?
Yeah, it keeps you very busy.
And you are as well Information Minister.
Yes.
What does it mean? I asked this in this context, right? We had Elizabeth Ohene, who was the Minister of Media Relations, yes. And she is no more, right? And you are the Information Minister. What does it involve? There was a time when it meant something that it probably is not in your case. What does it mean?
Well, I define the vision and the mission of the Ministry of Information as being to generate grassroots support for the government's policies, and to do that by getting people to understand why the government is pursuing the particular policies it is pursuing at the time that it is pursuing them. It comes from a thing where to understand all is to forgive all. So we have to create within the Ministry of Information the channels of information and the messages to send out to people so that they can understand exactly why the government is doing A and not B. why the government wants to achieve this at this time and then achieve something else at another time. Because when they can understand that, then they can argue with government or debate with government, and you're debating on issues, not on personalities. You get above personalities and you look at the issues. And then as you understand it, even if you don't agree, you know why the government is doing what it is doing. And once you understand why the government is doing it, then I believe you can actually support some of the programs. And that is what we need to continue to move the government's policies and programs forward.
The Media Relations Unit, was it really a ministry of your government? And is it still existing?
The media relations was slightly different from information, and it stemmed more from a philosophical difference of outlook. Information is much more proactive. Media relations is much more reactive. And the president felt that having tried to be reactive, we were not actually getting our agenda forward. We were beginning to react to other people's agendas. And so he decided to change the designation, and by virtue of changing the designation, change the thrust and become proactive rather than reactive.
So was it a ministry?
It was a ministry, yes.
But it's no more?
Well, there's no more, because it's gone back into being the Ministry of Information.
And Miss Elizabeth Ohene, what is she doing now?
Oh, she's working in the office of the president, very close to the president, helping to define policies, helping to think through policies, and helping us also to communicate those policies.
Some people said after the reshuffle and she was no more in the ministry, the defunct ministry, some people thought it was a demotion. How did you see it? I mean, government, to you, what did it mean?
It's we are all equals. So there's no promotion or demotion. There's a sideways move. There's a use of you in an area where you'll be better used. I mean, the president moved me aside to this. I mean, it's a recognition that it's not a matter of you failed at this particular thing, but it's that the president feels that you can be better used. Your skills are more suited to doing this particular thing. I mean, everybody within the government has a function, and if you do your very best and make sure that you do your function as well as you possibly can, then overall the government will be more successful.
At the beginning of your office, right, when you first came about a year ago, people were saying, there were allegations that the government is run by you and Senior Minister J.H. Mensah. True or false?
The government is run by the president. It is the president's government. It's the president's vision that we deliver on. We are all functionaries within the deliverance of that vision. And so, no one single person. Government is a huge thing. No one single person can turn around and say, I'm running the government. Okay, the direction is given by the president. This is what I want to achieve. This is what I want to do. And then we, the ministers, go about helping him to achieve what it is he wants to achieve. And we are helped by the public service, by the civil servants, to deliver on that vision.
One of the things that seemed to lend credence to that allegation was the apparent contradiction of the president by Mr. J.H. Mensah that the government was going to find the 28 billion cedis it would take to buy vehicles for the MPs.
No, there was no contradiction of the president. The president has never said that we were not going to buy vehicles for the MPs. Okay,
at least not 28 billion.
Yes,
it wouldn't have involved 28 billion.
It was never going to involve 28. Necessarily going to involve 28 billion.
But he said the senior minister said it were going to find the 28 billion.
No, I think that was a hyperbole again. But not every single member of parliament was going to take the loan. And not every loan was going to be for the full $20,000. But if you turn around and say this is what the entitlement is, then you're talking about finding that sum of money. But the government was never going to pay for this, okay, and that it was going to pay and not get the money back. The government was going to facilitate. The government was going to help to be able to get the loans for the members of parliament to be able to do it. I think it's sad, that parliament, who are so poorly paid, basically, that it's almost unthinkable for them to take a 4-year loan to buy a $20,000 car. We cannot continue to think at that level. Somehow we've all got to expand our minds. We've all got to expand. Everybody's got to start expanding and start to say that we have to move this country forward until we reach the place where everybody is being properly paid.
So are you going to find the 28 billion cedis?
But I say it's not necessarily 28 billion.
How much?
You can't tell. It's the entitlement would be 28. If you said that everybody was going to take, but it's not just a matter of us finding the money. It's the banks will find the money. The lending institutions, government will facilitate. It's not necessarily going to come out of government's pocket. And even if part of it did come out of government's pocket, it is coming out for it to be repaid. It's not a gift. It's not an entitlement that this is your car, we'll pay for it and take it away.
So government is going to facilitate it now?
Oh yes, we have to, because the people must do their work. At the end of the day, the MPs must do their work as MPs. They must represent their constituents, and to be able to represent their constituents, it's not a matter of getting up on a trotro and going backwards and forwards. And again, I believe that we must stop thinking at those levels. You will not attract into public service, whether as a politician or as a civil servant, the best and brightest in this country, if you do not allow them to enjoy a proper remuneration level. In fact, this is what I came down here for with the Civil Servants Association, to give that specific message, that the government is committed. The president is committed to the realization of a vision that says the brightest and the best that this country produces will be induced to come into the public service, because the public service is the one that creates the environment for all of our lives, for the private sector to do well, for children to be educated, for ongoing students to get further education, for health services to be delivered. It's all produced by the public service.
We'll come back to that in a moment.
I want to really make this point. And to be able to get the brightest and the best and to keep them, you must talk in terms of properly remunerating them. So many people have been in the public service of this country and are no longer in the public service. They either go to the private sector here or they go outside of this country. Why? Because we are not paying them, we are not giving them the proper remuneration. The same thing with the civil servants as with the politicians. We need to get the best and the brightest and keep them here in this country. And the President has called upon us all to say, look, let us look at how we can bake a bigger cake so that we can look after all our people in the way that our people deserve to be looked after.
I'll come back with a word on that. But recently you held a meeting with the editors and owners of media houses in Accra, and you were criticized for it.
Yes, well, yes, I think there was
But why did you organize that meeting?
Because I had a number of people had expressed their concerns to me about what was happening on our electronic media, the films that were being shown on television and the language that was being used on radio. So I invited the owners and managers of the media, private sector as well, so we don't have any control on them, and invited them to come. And then they came and we sat and we had a chat, and I explained to them what the concerns of the public were, and suggested that they should try and do something about it voluntarily. And we had a discussion, and they came out with a code of practice that they would follow. And fortunately, at the end of the day, I think things were a little bit better for that period. But again, we're slipping backwards. We're getting songs on air that shouldn't be going on air. We're getting people calling in on phone-ins. We're getting hosts of programs who are misusing language. And because you speak something in a local language does not make it any less offensive. If it is offensive, it is offensive to whoever hears it, whoever understands it. And these are things that we all have to realize.
So then you knew you were doing a good thing, with nothing wrong with it. But it was criticized. After it was criticized, did you see anything untoward about it?
No. I mean, I met with the Media Commission, and we agreed that we would all of us work together towards meeting these demands that people have. Because even in Parliament, I am asked, what are you doing about it?
Is there a meeting you would hold again, or if you have to hold it again, you may revise the way you hold it?
In fact, I had invited the Media Commission members to come prior to the meeting for me to speak to them on the issue, and then ask them to join in, to hold on while the other people came, so we could have a broader meeting. But I was delayed, and by the time I got there, the Media Commission members had left, and the media owners were still there. So we had the meeting. But it's definitely a meeting that we will hold again, if given the concerns that people have. Because at the end of the day, people hold the government responsible for, or charge the government to do something about improving what is being broadcast. And at the moment, I'm the one who sits on that particular government seat.
The private media houses not long ago complained that they were not given, but some of them were not given accreditation during British Prime Minister Tony Blair's visit.
Yes.
Why not?
Because there was as we explained to them even before, we did a press briefing, and point of fact, I believe the people who complained were the ones who didn't come to the press briefing. At that meeting, we explained
including the independent newspaper.
Yeah, I believe they were not present at the initial press briefing, and we explained what the constraints we were facing were. Today the world has changed. The world is not the same post September the 11th as it was before. Al Qaeda operates everywhere, and the opportunity to blow up a British Prime Minister, if it presents itself in Ghana, which is a friendly country, it doesn't mean they won't take it. So security is at a much higher premium than it used to be. That was a part of the reason.
Your assessment of the media today?
It's a big question. I mean, the media is tremendously exciting. There's a lot of things happening within it. It has tremendous challenges of its own that it is possibly not adequately addressing. I do think that people within the media need to do more spade work, more background work, to find out about issues before they talk about them or before they invite conversations. Because oftentimes you listen to a phone-in program and you realize that if the host of the phone-in program had taken the trouble to learn more about the particular subject, he or she could better address the concerns of the listeners when they phone in, and that is not happening still.
I should really have twined my question. I mean, how do you see the private media and then the state media under your government?
I'm hoping that we're going to get a situation where it's just one. We talk about the media and stop this differentiation between state and private. The state is the owner, as Mr. So-and-so is also the owner, but at the end of the day, the product should be of the same quality, whether it's owned by...
What's wrong with the differentiation?
It comes from a period in the past where there was a lot of there was control, direct control over the state-owned media, and that we're trying to we can't do now anyway because the Constitution doesn't allow it, and also we don't want to do it anyway. It's not part of how we would like to see government develop. We would like to see the media grow as an institution that supports the democracy. We would like to see all the media grow so that they have as big a stake in the success of the democratic process as any other institution, so they too will defend it and make sure that they help this democracy to thrive.
So do you see the state media as trying to heal itself of the altercations it found itself in under previous governments?
I think the state media is actually in many cases very, very excellent. If you look around the private media, you'll find that many of the people in today's private media receive their training from the state media. They've had their initial training in media work from the state media. Again, there are challenges. There are challenges that face the management. There's over-peopling. There are too many people as a hang-up from other things that the particular medium was supposed to do at a particular time. These need to be addressed. But we have a state media that, to me, properly that will continue to play a huge role in shaping this nation, in creating a nation out of the disparate peoples that are part of Ghana.
In what way?
In that they cut across much more. I mean, Sky FM is very much within this area. And when the FM rules and regulations are being properly applied, you will be within certain confines. But GBC 1, GBC 2 go right across the nation. they get over and above the local issues, and they talk about the national issues. They talk about forging of the national character, and these are things that they are uniquely. Only they can uniquely play that particular role.
Does that suggest you're not going to give license or support license for a private person to go national in radio, for example, if in the future Sky wants to go national, which we want to?
I'm not sure what the rules and regulations are, but I believe at the moment we're talking about FM licenses, and FM licenses are constrained. But I see no reason why there should not be a growth of national media. Yes, there can be.
So for now, you would personally support that?
For now?
Yes.
I would personally support the growth of media, yes. Because it was the strengthening of media, the growth of media.
In the specific sense of having private radios going national.
I believe it's happening anyway. I believe there are...
in the true sense of the word.
Yes. Okay, in the true sense of the word, I mean, there are two ways of doing it. One, you can actually have one transmitter here, and then you transmit nationally. Or you can have a chain of different FM stations that link up and give you national coverage. But definitely, why not? I mean, we're one country. There's complete freedom. There's within the licensing. Yes, why not?
This is Big Issues on Sky Power FM. My name is Phillip Nyakpo. I'm doing this with the Minister of Presidential Affairs and Information, Mr. Jake Obetsebi-Lamptey. Tell me about your government. You boast of some achievements, right, over the past 1 year. What's the future going to look like?
Better, I hope. Certainly, our intention is that it should be better this year than it was last year, and better next year than it will be this year. The positive change is a process. It is not a once and for all thing. It's not a matter of switching on a light and the light comes on, so you've gone from darkness into light. It's like anything else. It develops over time. This year we have at the macroeconomy level we have the ambition to reduce inflation to 13%, and then ultimately before the end of our first term to single-digit inflation. Inflation is the biggest single thief of that you can have. Is the biggest enemy of poor people. Inflation is a thing that stops you from saving money, because you go out and you want to buy a sewing machine to do some small business. When you go out, you find it's X price. You don't have enough money, so you decide to save. By the time you save for 6 months, you go back again, you find the price has gone up, and you still don't have enough money. Okay, that stops the poor person from actually being able to do anything. Inflation is a thief that steals from you 24 hours of the day, 7 days of the week. So we are committed to bringing that one under control. And it's costing us a lot politically, because people want the government. Most of money that moves around is generated by government spending. People want the government to spend, so that they can actually see money moving. But if you do that, the money that moves every single day has less value. So the 1,000 CD note that you have today, if you have that sort of situation happening, is worth only 900 tomorrow. We'll only buy 900 CDs worth of goods. And so that is actually no good to anybody. So the president has bitten the bullet and has taken the line that the main thing he has to do is to bring about a sensible currency. Sensible money, because when you have sensible money, then you can do something. Are you
guaranteeing, therefore, that what 5,000 CDs or 1,000 CDs is worth today will be same or even better in 3 years when you come to the end of your term of office?
I'm saying that at the beginning of the year 2000, the 5,000 CDs you had in your hand bought you less at the end of that year than it bought you at the beginning of the year. In the year 2001, the last year or the first year of the MPP government, the 5,000 CDs you had in your hand in January bought you almost the same at the end of the year as it bought you at the beginning of January. And inshallah, with the determination that we have, the 5,000 CDs that you have today will buy you almost the same at the end of this year as it will buy you now.
Is that a guarantee?
It can't be a guarantee. I mean, only God guarantees everything. Okay, with all due respect.
But you guaranteed positive change, but you're not God.
We didn't guarantee positive change. We said that we will work towards positive change. We will generate public support to work towards positive change. And willy-nilly, since the voice of the majority and the voice of the people is the voice of God, it seems that we are moving in the right direction. That people are beginning to sense this positive change. People initially felt it with the air of freedom that they had. People continue to feel it with the knowledge that we are now getting onto the rule of law. Nobody can come and give you identity haircut. Nobody can come and just take your whatever it is away.
But that you guarantee.
That we can try and guarantee. Yes. Okay. I mean, we can insofar as the things that are under our control, we can guarantee. I mean, and we can guarantee that we will do everything possible, work 24 hours a day if necessary, to try to make sure that we achieve the reduction of the rate of inflation to 13% by the end of this year. And with it should come, and will come, the reduction of interest rates. You cannot borrow money for private sector activity, which over a long period of time, if you're having to pay 40% or 50% interest. You can borrow money and do something with it if you're only paying 15% interest or less. And this is what we want to do. We want to, if you're talking about the golden age of business, if you're talking about empowering the private sector, first you must give it a sensible money to work with. And this is the key to everything the president is trying to do. And as that key is put there, then I believe you will find that more private sector activities will take place, and then the country will start to open up and jobs will be created.
Strengthening the private sector. Now, your government plans to monopolize the lottery business. Do you think it's an idea that's popular with Ghanaians? Are you going ahead with it?
I'm not sure that lottery is a business. Okay, I mean,
it's an activity, economic activity.
It's an activity. It's a fund generation activity, government fund generation activity. Everywhere in the world, basically the governments own, whether state government or local government or national government owns the lottery. The private sector plays a role in lottery in that it actually runs the lottery on behalf of the government. But it does so within very strictly defined limits, so that the vast majority of the monies generated by the lottery activity comes straight back into government chest. In Britain, I think you had a company called Camelot that was running it, and now it's a different company that's running the national lottery there. You cannot have a situation where a previous government, introduced the lottery to generate additional income. And the income it generated was at one time, I'm told, 15% of the national revenue. Then government comes and changes and says, no, we'll privatize it to give it wider spread, and then it generates 0%.
Why did it? I mean, what information do you have about that? How is it you did not realize enough revenue from it?
Well, we were not in government at the time, but I mean, I think what happened is available for everybody to.
Okay, the concern is that when you monopolize it as you have planned, people are going to lose jobs. That's the concern, right?
But
what do you have to say about that?
It doesn't have to happen. I mean, for instance, if as the owner, I need to maximize the revenue I collect. That means I have to have as many people playing the lottery.
You mean owner as in government? You government as owner.
Government as owner.
But
of
the people
lottery.
Also believe they own it, that they have the right to operate it.
The people who stake own it because it is their lottery. The people who operate different lottery companies cannot be said to have a right to whatever, because the thing should rightfully belong to government, and it should be used for government revenue. In Britain, I believe one of the things they were talking about was using the lottery to finance the whole of their healthcare program. Mm-hmm. Something that if you are generating the revenues, something the government could consider. But when you are not generating any revenue, you cannot consider it. You talk about the jobs. The jobs are created by the expansion of the opportunities for people to stake. so that most of the jobs within the lottery business are from the people who sell the tickets. So if you have a bigger lottery, you will still need more people to sell the tickets. There is nothing sacrosanct about having a national lottery that has only one draw a week. It can have 2 draws in a week, and you can have different people selling for one draw and different people selling for another draw.
So the point is that you're going to go ahead with it?
Yes, I see no reason why we shouldn't. And then going ahead with it, we are also going to make sure that we minimize the number of people who will lose their jobs. And then by maximizing the return to government of revenue, we will then be able to actually create more jobs from the proper use of that revenue.
The transitional team, this is a bit of a different topic. The transitional team gave out so many vehicles to ex-ministers, the ex-president, the ex-vice president. Some people believe it was done in a rush, that you were in a hurry to come into power, and so you just did it. Why 10 cars to one person, be it an ex-president or ex-vice president?
The transitional team basically had a week in which to do the transition.
So you were in a hurry?
Not in a hurry. You didn't have time. I mean, it's not a matter of being in a hurry. It's if you have only a week to do it. There's only a week to do it. So, you had a week not to do the whole transition. Could have sat after that. Okay, but in terms of actually the transition period, the transition was 1 week. Okay? A lot of things had to be done within that 1 week. Certain things had been done from before the transition. The ministers' cars were nothing to do with the transitional team. Nothing whatsoever. The cars that the ministers had taken away as end of service, as part of their end of service entitlements or whatever, were done before the handover, before the transitional team even started to sit. And had nothing to do with the transitional team. So
in that case, are you happy about it as a government?
I believe that because we continue to be less than open about how much we pay public servants. That's why we continue to have problems like this. I don't believe that there should be any need for a minister to take away a vehicle that once belonged to the state as part of his entitlements, because you can never be even in that matter. Because some vehicles will be 2 years old, some will be 8 years old. And therefore, there's no equity. I believe pay people properly. Let them decide what they want to do with their money. A minister should be paid in sufficient amount of money. We should have a sufficient remuneration to be able to afford to buy a car if he or she so wishes. Whether probably on a car loan scheme or a hire purchase scheme, yes. But definitely they should be able to buy a car, because you should be earning as a minister enough money to afford a car. You should be earning enough money as a senior civil servant to buy a car. I believe that a lot of these things have been done because we have lacked the political will and courage to address the issue full frontally.
Former Vice President returned some of the cars. Do you think it is too late now, perhaps, to go back and take some of the reported 20 vehicles given to ex-President Rawlings?
I don't believe it's too. I don't believe anything is ever too late. So I mean, I believe that the former president, the final settlement of the former president is something that is still being finalized now. And within that finalization will come whether the government offers him 1 car or 2 cars. There's a limit to what the government can offer anyway. There's a Green Street report that we have to be aware of.
One of your biggest people who criticize you is Mr. Kofi Wayo. What does the government think of him? He is a member of the MPP.
He's a very short-term member of the MPP, yes. He stood for us in East Ayawaso. Kofi Wayo is a friend of mine, but he says a lot of things that are not true.
Like?
A huge host of things that are not true. And I mean, some of these things have caused such offense to the individuals about whom he has said them that I believe that very soon he's going to find himself in court with a whole string of libel cases, because he cannot actually control what he says in public. And if you want to be a public figure, you should be able to control what you say about other people in public. I think also Mr. Kofi Wayo is disingenuous when it comes to certain things about energy. He made an offer, true, not a fully argued offer to buy the Tema refinery, but the price that he was offering to buy it at was a fraction of what the government had recently spent in upgrading the refinery. So if I come to you and I see that you've just bought a fine new house and you paid 200 million cedis for it, and I come and offer you 15 million, then I'm not, as far as you are concerned, making a serious offer. Okay, and in the same way that he was not, as far as the Ministry of Energy was concerned, making a serious offer. If you are seriously interested in taking over Tema oil refinery, it is not done on one sheet of paper, and I'm offering you X many millions of dollars. It is done in a properly constructed way. You've done the full costing. You bring us the people who are going to finance this thing in a way that we can actually see that they really are going to finance it. Okay, with all due respect, Mr. Wayo talks a lot about the money that he spent, that he helped with, gave to the MPP. I was campaign manager, okay, and I don't know who he gave it to, but certainly I didn't see this largesse that he gave us. In fact, in Ayawaso East, okay, his polling agents were paid by the campaign managers, not by the party, and not even by him personally. So I don't want to get too much into Mr. Wayo, but again, if you are a real member of the MPP, if you are a real loyal member of the MPP, there are ways, and you think that your party, which is now in government, is getting certain things wrong, there are ways in which you can constructively move the party, especially if you say you are a leading member and you have access to the offices of ministers and vice presidents and whatever. There are ways that you can talk your thing. And if you're saying the things and then they're not doing it, okay, it could be because they don't believe necessarily that what you are suggesting is the right thing. They may actually have checked through some of the things you're suggesting and find that, no, it won't work the way you think it will work. And if you continue to say that this is the way to go and they continue to not go the way you want to go, then why don't you say, look, I'm leaving you, gentlemen. Okay, I'm not going to pretend to be a part of you. Okay, I'm leaving you and I'm now going to criticize you fully and everything else. Okay,
Sir, I know you. Two questions more. One,
yes.
How important is the Bimbilla seat to the NPP?
Well, every seat is important. Every seat is important. We shall fight for it. We shall fight for it.
How sure are you that you're going to win it?
Inshallah. I mean, politics, you're never sure until the result has been declared. You go, you stand for election, you're sure, you're confident you're going to win. I mean, I'm sure that 2000 were lots of people in NDC who were confident they were going to win. And then, lo and behold, when the results were declared, they had lost.
So I'm left with just one question.
I am confident. Having said that, I'm very confident.
Yeah. So that short answer leaves me with just one question, isn't it? Okay, sir. Some people think that you are good to be president of this country. One day, would you like to become president of the Republic of Ghana?
Oh, I mean, that day will be so far away. I mean, let's concentrate on actually doing something now to move this country forward. If under President Kufuor's leadership, we have moved the place forward so that at the end of his 2 terms, it's going to be a comfortable job, then maybe. But if it's going to be as uncomfortable as it is now, then perhaps we'll find somebody else.
So what's the answer, yes or no?
Oh, that may be.
Okay, sir, I'll give you the last word.
What we are engaged upon is something that I think we all have to get our shoulders behind. I know promises have been made in the past and promises have not been delivered or have not been fulfilled, which makes it difficult for anybody to believe new promises or new intentions. But there are ways of judging people when they're coming with their promises or with their intentions to see if they have any chance of really delivering or not. I call those ways the signs or signposts. Look for the signposts to see the direction in which we are moving. One of the number of the signs and signposts were in this year's budget. I think if people will read the budget carefully, they will see from the budget which way we intend to move. I know that we are committed to bringing about positive change for the whole of this country. We realize now the magnitude of the problem, and I think everybody should realize the magnitude of the problem. We're in the Western region. Just today we keep on hearing the richest region, the most productive region in Ghana, and yet if you look at the resources that have been allocated here, the most unresourced region. Your roads are in terrible shape. All the different things that make life a little bit easier. Too many of them are not present here. These are things that are historical. They are things that we now have to address. You've been promised, the people here have been promised that they will be addressed before by previous governments. They found they were not. Look to what this government is doing, bit by bit. See the signs. Are there any signs that they are going to come and address these problems? And then if they are, then let's all get behind and move this country forward.
Well, my last word on this occasion, I would like to thank you very much, Honorable Minister of Information and Presidential Affairs, Jake Obetsebi-Lamptey. It's a pleasure to have you, sir. And let's have you again sometime on big issues.
Thank you, Philip. I will gladly be here in the future. Thank you.